The United States launched strikes on Iranian targets over the weekend of March 1st, 2026. President Trump cited imminent threat as justification. Retaliatory missile and drone attacks followed from Iran and aligned groups. These exchanges expanded across borders into multiple countries. The State Department then issued urgent advisories for American citizens to depart 14 nations in the region: Bahrain, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, the United Arab Emirates, and Yemen appeared on the list. Commercial transport remained the primary means. Airspace closures complicated departures. Charter flights began later through coordination with Gulf partners. The mechanism of presidential war initiation rests on Article 2 of the Constitution. The commander-in-chief role allows rapid response. Notification to Congress occurs within 48 hours under the War Powers Resolution of 1973. No prior congressional authorization applied here. Lawmakers from both parties raised questions about the timeline and planning. The administration described the decision as preemptive. Intelligence indicated potential Iranian first strike, according to public statements. Execution involved joint United States and Israeli operations. Pentagon assets conducted precision strikes. Targets included nuclear-related sites and military installations. Iranian forces responded with barrages against United States positions in Kuwait and elsewhere. 6 American service members died in initial exchanges. Additional casualties occurred among regional civilians and personnel. Institutions of governance faced immediate strain. The State Department manages citizen protection abroad. Its embassies issued departure orders without pre-positioned evacuation fleets. Trump later explained the absence of advance plans. The operation unfolded faster than anticipated. Coordination with the Department of Defense and intelligence agencies occurred internally. No public contingency for mass civilian extraction appeared before strikes. Diplomatic channels activated afterward. Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed facilitation of charter flights from the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan. Over 9,000 Americans departed independently in the first days. Thousands more registered for assistance. European allies organized separate repatriations. France, Germany, and others arranged flights and naval support. Power concentration in the executive branch enabled swift action. Checks and balances require congressional funding and oversight for sustained conflict. Initial phases bypass full debate. The conflict spread to proxy actors. Iranian-backed militias joined attacks. Energy infrastructure in the Gulf faced threats. Shipping through the Strait of Hormuz encountered risks. Oil prices rose sharply. Global markets registered volatility. Insurance for tankers became a federal concern. The administration offered escorts and coverage. These measures aimed to stabilize trade routes. Violence escalated beyond initial targets. Drones struck the American embassy in Riyadh. Minor damage resulted. Protests in Pakistan targeted United States facilities. One consulate faced assault. Regional governments closed airspace selectively. Consequences for governance emerged quickly. Public criticism focused on preparation gaps. Senators noted the evacuation advisories arrived 3 days into operations. Airspace restrictions then limited commercial options. The State Department directed citizens to commercial means initially. Later adjustments included government-chartered aircraft. Registration through the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program increased. Call centers contacted thousands, yet thousands remained stranded. Humanitarian considerations applied to dual nationals and tourists. Thailand and South Korea evacuated their citizens separately. Lithuania and Austria prioritized vulnerable groups. The pattern showed fragmented international response. Legal frameworks under domestic law faced scrutiny. The War Powers Resolution sets a 60-day clock for unauthorized hostilities. Extension to 90 days requires certification. Congress prepared votes on authorization. Bipartisan concerns surfaced about strategy and endgame. The administration projected 4 to 5 weeks for major operations. Trump stated capability for longer duration if needed. Objectives centered on disabling Iranian threats and achieving regional peace. No formal declaration of war occurred. International law questions arose over proportionality and necessity. Retaliatory strikes by Iran tested self-defense claims on both sides. Civilian impacts in urban areas drew monitoring from humanitarian organizations. Institutional power dynamics shifted with escalation. The Pentagon identified casualties and adjusted force posture. Non-essential personnel evacuated from select embassies. Kuwait and Saudi Arabia saw closures or reductions. Diplomacy with allies continued. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz discussed trade and broader implications during White House meetings. European Union members expressed reservations about escalation timing. United Nations members called for de-escalation. Beijing condemned the strikes and urged cessation. The spiral illustrated limits of unilateral control. Proxy networks activated rapidly. Missile defenses intercepted many threats. Reserves depleted in some systems. Regional alliances activated mutual defense clauses. Qatar downed Iranian aircraft in one reported incident. Violence mechanisms included precision munitions and asymmetric responses. United States strikes used advanced aircraft and standoff weapons. Iranian forces relied on ballistic missiles and drones. Accuracy varied. Civilian sites suffered collateral effects. Hospitals and infrastructure reported damage in reports. Displacement increased in affected zones. Governance in host countries faced pressure. Jordan, Lebanon, and others managed border flows and security. Evacuation logistics strained airports in Oman and the United Arab Emirates. Commercial carriers canceled routes. Military transport supplemented gaps. The administration covered costs for certain flights, yet delays persisted due to safety assessments. Global rules on non-combatant protection applied under Geneva Conventions. Evacuation calls highlighted risks to civilians. Dual citizens and long-term residents encountered visa and transport hurdles. United States embassies advised self-registration. No guarantee of extraction existed in closed airspace. Consequences for institutional trust appeared in legislative debates. Senators from both parties questioned planning adequacy. One noted potential involvement of up to 1 million Americans in the broader region. The figure included tourists, workers, and military families. Power exercised at the executive level produced rapid onset but slower adaptation. Retaliation patterns extended to Gulf shipping and energy facilities. Insurance mechanisms activated through federal offers. Tanker escorts began in the Strait of Hormuz. Consequences extended to economic governance. Energy supply chains disrupted. Prices for oil and gas surged. Inflation risks rose in importing nations. Pakistan, as a regional actor, experienced protests and security alerts. Karachi saw demonstrations near United States facilities. Governance responses included heightened alerts. International institutions monitored spillover. The conflict tested NATO partnerships indirectly. Turkey and others managed airspace and refugee flows. Mechanisms of de-escalation remained diplomatic. Talks through intermediaries continued quietly. No immediate ceasefire emerged. The administration maintained operational tempo. Further institutional layers involved intelligence oversight. Committees in Congress received briefings. Public statements from Trump emphasized resolve and objectives. Fact-checking of justifications occurred in media and legislative settings. Pre-strike intelligence claims centered on imminent attack. Details remained classified. Power within the executive included input from the National Security Council. Decisions centralized there. Consequences for long-term governance included potential precedent for future actions. The war powers framework faced renewed debate on reform. Evacuation precedents from prior conflicts, such as Afghanistan in 2021, drew comparisons. Planning gaps repeated in public view. Violence consequences included service member losses and regional instability. Families received notifications. Pentagon released partial identities. 4 of 6 initial deaths confirmed. Broader toll mounted with each exchange. Humanitarian access complicated by active combat zones. International Red Cross and similar bodies coordinated aid where possible. Governance structures in allied states activated emergency protocols. Evacuation of diplomats preceded citizen efforts in some cases. United States embassies in high-risk areas reduced staff first. This sequence protected official personnel, but left civilians to commercial options initially. Later adjustments addressed the disparity. Charter coordination improved throughput. Global rules on sovereignty limited ground operations. Air and missile domain dominated. Naval presence in the Gulf deterred wider blockade attempts. Consequences for power projection appeared in strained resources. Interceptor stocks required replenishment. Allied contributions supplemented gaps. The spiral demonstrated feedback loops in conflict dynamics. Each strike prompted response. Control eroded as actors multiplied. Proxy militias operated with partial autonomy. Command chains fragmented across borders. Institutional responses focused on containment. State Department travel alerts updated daily. Citizens received text and email notices. Registration portals handled surges. Consequences for domestic governance included political pressure. Bipartisan lawmakers urged accelerated evacuations. Funding requests for transport assets followed. The executive branch allocated resources from existing budgets. Long-term costs remained unclear. Power balances between branches shifted with sustained operations. Congressional votes on authorization could constrain or endorse. International law bodies, including the International Court of Justice, monitored filings. No immediate cases advanced. The situation underscored enforcement gaps in global rules. The sequence of strikes, retaliation, and evacuation advisories reveals structural features of modern conflict governance. Executive initiative drives initial phases. Institutional adaptation follows with delays. Global rules set boundaries yet permit escalation under self-defense claims. Consequences include human displacement, economic disruption, and strain on alliances. Mechanisms of power, once activated, generate momentum difficult to arrest. Violence spreads through networks beyond central control. The events of early March 2026 illustrate these dynamics in real time. Future governance adjustments may address planning shortfalls exposed here. International norms persist as reference points amid ongoing operations.